Welcome to Wisdom on the Front Porch. Subscribe, ring the bell, like, and share the wisdom. Pull up a chair and join us with today's guest.
Okay, so welcome to another episode of Wisdom on the Front Porch. And today we're going to share wisdom and knowledge with Elijah Nissenboim. How do you say your last name?
Nissenboim.
Nissenboim.
Nissenboim. You were doing
Okay.
so well at the beginning. Everyone gets the first half wrong and the second half right. But yeah, Nissenboim. Nuss is not bomb is tree. Nuss is nuts. Boim is trees. So I come from a family of nut trees. And
there you go.
Them, you would agree.
Trees are strong and they're a little nutty. We have pecans out here. I love them. So tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are and what you do.
Tell you a little bit about myself. I'm turning 61. That's a lot of territory to cover.
Yeah, got you covered by 5 years.
Yeah. Oh, well, you don't look a day over 40.
Thanks.
I tell you about myself. I'm a unicorn. I'm a person who's trying to I've lived technically what you'd call a kind of a spiritual life, spiritual practice. These things were very important to me, but I also married, I had kids, and I'm always in the intersection between the inner and the outer, and always in weird way better at the inner process than the outer part. But now at this particular time, I'm like really having a good time. Like it's really working well. I'm finding the world out there less difficult to navigate. So
yeah. Why do you think that is?
Oh, I think everybody has a unique design, a unique thing that they're good at. There's something, I once had a teacher who said, there's something you are and something you ain't. But like, I think I was always a sensitive person, really easy to feel other people and read them and connect. And that I think whatever attracts you is what you spend your time on. And the world never really made a lot of sense to me. But my father, he passed away 2 years ago. He was really like the most in the earth kind of guy. It was a rags to riches story. He ended up running the largest manufacturing of contact lenses in Canada. He had 10 factories. And
Wow.
I was just this weird little musician, spiritual, gentle, and like, but in a way, now I realize I got a lot from having a relationship with somebody like that. So yeah. So I think everybody has something they're good at. And I understand people and can connect with them, but I'm also not really somebody who I've never had a doctor. I've never had a real job. I'm not somebody who's lived in the matrix per se.
You sound like a true entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's the thing is like, even if you're a spiritual person, like, I think I've been running a healing type business, a wellness business for 35 years. And it's very hard. It's like show business. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors and a lot of promise, but it's very hard to run a business where people's inner lives are at stake and they're not particularly clear. And like other healers, like I've trained a lot of people in my work, they're like cats, everybody wants to be in the emotional process of what they're going through, but nobody wants to be organized or do business and stuff. So yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. It's true.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting words that you said, that nobody wants to be in the business, but yet we're running a business. You've got to bring an income in. It's nice if you can do it without having the income and the structure and stuff, but it's not very long lasting and you can't sustain yourself.
I think the world, particularly since 2008, there was a economy collapse, and then a lot of people went into business for themselves. I was still like people doing like healing or alternative things. It was still not like that acceptable or everybody's doing, but during the pandemic, it really changed. And now it's
Yeah.
very normal for people to try to run businesses around personal development because everybody is searching in some way, and the lines aren't so straight. And
Right.
in the times in the 35 years that I've been doing this, it's the people who often would be attracted to either work with me or to train in my breathwork or whatever. There were people who were kind of had other jobs, but they had this they had trauma and they were broken in some way and they were trying to heal themselves. So and so was I, except that I could also run a business at the same time. And most of the people I worked with, they couldn't make that bridge over. That's what I mean by herding cats, because like it was more people were more new age. They liked the work, but they didn't like the arduous job of having to go out into the world and talk about your work and run businesses and stuff. But now I think it's changed a lot, and the people who are coming in my world are super organized, particularly the younger people.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good to know.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Yeah. So, so you said you were just a little bit different. Is that kind of how you got into this? It was something that just fits you to where the normal 9 to 5 corporate world just wasn't what you wanted to do.
I think I don't know if want is the word. Well, a couple things. I think I don't think I'm like real different until I start having conversations with other people, or till even doing podcasts, and which I've done a lot lately, and have to talk about myself. Uh, it I don't want to get on windy tangents of all the things that have happened, but I'll say that I really wanted to be a musician from the time I was 5, and I did. I was in the music business for 10 years, but
Okay.
well, two things. One, you know, when I there was one point I was making a living like playing in like a piano bar, or like a rock and roll piano bar. I wrote about it at the beginning of my book, but like I was very aware that people who were drinking too much or needed help, like I was sort of almost doing therapy from stage. Like so that in that
Nice.
way I ended up getting fired by sending people home. And I was always my message in my music and the things that I were doing I wasn't really sort of fit for that. So when the so I never had a real job. I was a musician, and then I was shown this breathwork technique. I wrote about it at the beginning of my book, but basically there was a massage place next door. This was 1990, and I used to go there, and I made friends with this one woman, and she invited me to do body work at her house, and I met her husband, and they were moving off to California. And she said, "Well, you put stuff in storage, and I will give you a massage." And I was broke musician. I was like, "Sure." And then she said, "Well, why don't you try my husband's breath work?" I lived in Canada. They were moving to California. I didn't breath work. It sounded like work. I didn't want to do it. I was lazy. Um, but I said yes. And that one experience, which is still somewhat in the roots of my work, which is basically a conscious hyperventilation. I can demonstrate it to you, my technique, if you want. But basically, I did it. It was so riveting and powerful and terrifying. I had piano teachers who used to hit my hands with rulers. So anytime I
Oh,
would get up
no.
and yeah,
I'm
the
a
old
piano
biddies,
teacher
and
and I would
we were
never
the
do that to my students.
oh, you're a piano teacher.
Yeah, yeah, I did
Oh,
for quite a few years, and yeah, I would no, my teacher
yeah.
never did that to
Well,
me.
these were like old. They were almost like nuns.
Yeah.
And but anyway, whenever I got up in front of people, there was a fear to express myself. My hands would turn cold. But when I did the breath work, my hands balled up so I couldn't open them for almost 2 hours. And my whole life changed. My whole creativity opened up. So when the guy moved to California, I followed him. out here. I came out for a training to San Francisco, and then I fell in love with the Bay Area, and then I moved here. And that was sort of the end of the music business. So I
Wow.
I never really and then the rest of my, life, I can look at it more clearly now, was toggling between my own personal growth and the shape of my life challenged me, and the part of me has been only ever helping other people with their life. So
Wow.
maybe that's also what I mean by being different, like just reconciling, like, and also I've learned to really make mistakes in public because I don't want to be in that projection of a guru where people expect me to be perfect. Because when you're working with people all the time, people expect you to have your life together. And, I started when I was 26. I did not have my life together. So, yeah. And
That's
now,
interesting. You said that you make your mistakes in public because a lot of
yeah.
people are so afraid to do that because they don't want to see that they aren't perfect. They want to give the persona that, yeah, I've got it all together, but we're human. We do make mistakes. So when you say you want to make your mistakes in public, what do you really mean by that?
Well, if I be really general, I'll just say the best part of, well, the thing I just realized, the best part of myself is the one who makes those mistakes. Like I have a young boy, and he's just curious, and he doesn't know a lot, and he's sensitive, and he wants to explore, and he's very fun and adventurous. And I came from a family of like Jewish intellectuals, and everyone, and
Oh,
I
wow.
was this, but what I notice is that the most beautiful part of people is always in that place where they are, you know, imperfect. And for me, being able to, there's an authority I have to help people. I do understand. I do have a gift that was given to me to help people with suffering, but it's not about my power or my gift. What I try to do is model the way I think we need to be so other people will do the same. So when I'm up in front of people as a teacher, I make jokes, but I make mistakes, I take risks, I'm spontaneous, and things don't always work out. But I have to do that. Otherwise, I'm just standing at a chalkboard talking about something like wisdom. So I realize that the part of me that's always afraid of people not liking me, getting my hands hit by the piano teachers, is the one who most needs to be in front of people. And once I accepted that, I'm that's maybe what my life is always like a slippery slope of failing forward. And that's not something people expect of a person like me.
Yeah. But I love it that you're failing forward because we're learning. We're learning what's more about us. We're learning about our business, what works, what doesn't work, and trying new things. And if you don't do that, you just kind of stay stagnant. But failing forward means you're still going. You keep on going, even though you
And
made a mistake.
I think what I notice about um, people a lot I'm very close to recently is that, like, the outcome doesn't matter if you put your whole self into something and it doesn't work out, it's fine. So it's not even failing, and it's not even necessarily forward. It's just, yeah, like you're nodding. So it's like I want to embody the the most of what I am in my day-to-day life. It has nothing to do with doing anything right. But it took a while to figure that out.
Yeah, I
And
like
and to risk doing it and
yeah.
keep doing it. And I just before I got on the podcast, I was, doing other things, and it was like it's 4:30 in the afternoon here. It's not necessarily my most productive time. I was like, oh God, I hear this voice. I don't want to do this. Like, and what it is I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to have a conversation and like, what if you don't like me or whatever? And I have been in front of people for 35 years, thousands of times, and it's always there, that feeling of like, uh, I got to be vulnerable again. But it ends up always, mostly being okay. Mostly. Sometimes it does.
Mostly.
Yeah.
Why do you think we still do that? Why do we still have that? I don't know if it's a fear or it's like, why do I have to do it again? When we've done it so many times. I mean,
Well, why do you do your laundry? I mean, or why do you eat? Or why do you sleep? Like, life is so, part of it is so boring. Like, and just so, like, it's the same thing over and over
yeah,
again. And another part is like, I can't even believe we're here. It's so magical. And I feel like as soon as you lose for me, the edge of risk, then why are we here? I mean,
yeah,
somebody asked, I don't know who it was, maybe it was Bob Dylan. Somebody said, you have all the money in the world, everything you need. Why do you still go out and play? It's like, it's such a dumb question, really. Like, why do I get up in the morning? I mean, if I don't have something that I'm a little bit afraid of, then it's probably like there's a depression there. Like, you
yeah,
want to I want to keep learning. Yeah.
yeah. Someone someone said it's nerve sighted. It's like you're really
Mm,
nervous about it, but yet you're so excited too that
mm,
that
I
you
like
just
that.
have to keep going. And
Yeah.
so that brings me to the question of your why. Why do you do this? Why do you get up in the morning and do this work when you could do anything else in the world? You know, you were a musician for a while. Why?
I'm
Why
I
this?
still a
I see the
musician. I
guitar back
still
there.
yeah. I'll show you what I did with this. I took this is tuned in an open C. Oh, let me turn on the original sound. So it's an open C tuning. But what I did was I ripped all the frets off. I wanted to
Oh
see if I
wow.
could make it like an Indian instrument. So you can't do that on a
You know,
fret,
some
but
bluegrass music like that.
yeah. So yeah, I have a lot of guitars. Some call it an addiction. No,
It's like everybody has
yeah,
something.
yeah. Well, I met another guitar player I was at some event, and he said, there's a saying like, how many guitars is too many? And the answer was just one more. Yeah.
What's the
Um,
next one?
so why do I do what I do? Well, uh, I, I, I have always done in a way, I've always done what I wanted to do. But yes and no. I mean, because of my own conditioning and traumas and things, there's lots of ways that I've seceded my authority to other people or done things maybe I didn't want to do. But in general, for the big things, like I still play music all the time. I have a recording studio for my breath work. I have 25 volumes of music up on Spotify. Like that's 20 more than 25 hours. So I'm still playing all the time. And um the healing work part of it, I don't think I was ever I've always been interested in what you would call healing. So it's just that, and so I'm not really designed to do other things. In any situation I would go into, I had one job one time. This is it's a little bit of a funny story, if I may.
Yes.
2001. I'll expose a little bit of how weird I am by giving you more details about this than I probably would share otherwise. So I was with my breath teacher for 10 years. I left him. It was a very difficult situation. I was kind of in a lot of trouble, like just, I was really falling apart. And my wife at the time knew this guy who was this really profound healer. His name is John Wyrick. He was and he came and he did some things to help me. And it turned out he was a Sufi teacher. The Sufis are the path of the heart, universal
Okay.
peace and love. The poet Rumi, if you've heard of, I mean,
Yes. Yeah.
most
In fact, I
widely
just
bought
printed
poet.
out one of his poems.
Yeah, he's the most widely read poet of all time, and he lived in the 1200s in Afghanistan. Anyway,
Uh,
John was a Sufi, and he did this work, it was archetype work. He had been a chiropractor, and he could see auras. He did, and he would find your different archetypes and he would clear them. And I had this, what he said, a very strong monk archetype, and that ascetic, hermetic, forbidden to have personal money, whatever. And he did all this clearing on it. And he said, I really want to help you. My wife works in downtown San Francisco. She was a project manager for a mortgage insurance company right across from the Transamerica building, that big
yeah.
building. And he said, he talked to her and she got me a job being an executive assistant. I never
Wow.
had a job. I got the job, not kidding, September 9th, 2001. So 2 days, I'm coming out of my asceticism and my breathwork teacher and all this stuff. And 9/11 happens, and that Transamerica building was like a monument. So there was armed guards and tanks and everything. And now I'm working downtown in a corporate job and I'm getting dressed up and I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just like absolutely, completely hopeless. But when I went into there was 800 people in this mortgage insurance company, and the job I was supposed to have dried up when I got there. So she said, look, you're terrible, but you look the part. If you can stay out of trouble, you can stick around. And I was turning 40 and I wanted to be normal. So I would just sort of wander around and try to either hide out or make myself useful. And I ended up, no matter what, people just started wanting to confess and tell me their problems and I mean, I didn't do anything. I was undercover. And then I ended up just going back to work. And that was the end of the one job that I ever had.
Wow.
It lasted 3 months.
So did that actually prepare you, or confirm with you that you know what you're supposed to do? I'm supposed to talk with people.
Well, I think that I do a lot of different things in my work, and it's not that linear, and it's always changing. So if you met me 5 years ago, I mean, the breath work that I have kept with me for 35 years, and I haven't. After I left my teacher, I had changed it somewhat, and I branded my own technique. Effigy is what it's called, EFFIJI. So effigy I branded in 2001, that very year. And that hasn't changed a lot, but some parts of my work are working with groups, some parts are private work, some parts involve Taoist movement that I teach. People are in programs, some people are training to become facilitators. And, even during the pandemic, I had traveled nonstop from 2002 to 2020, and then I stayed home for 4 years and thought maybe I could be an online thing. And now I'm back. I'm 2 months ago was my first trip out in 5 years. So
Oh,
it's all
wow.
it's different all the time. So in one way, it's always about helping people release trauma, becoming whole, that sort of thing. But what it's about for me is there's something of a creative river where I'm just trying to figure out what wants to happen and to meet the times too, because when I first started doing it, there was just no such thing. Like I could put a sign up at the health food store or on a pole or something, and it just keeps evolving. And also as people become more intelligent about their own personal development,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You mentioned river, and I was thinking earlier when you were talking how things are always changing. Now look at life as a river. It's very fluid. It's always moving, never stops. It's just
Mm.
always going.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have that real calm and peace, and you just kind of float along. And then sometimes it picks up a little bit of speed, and it just goes real rough, like through rapids. And you could get in your boat and run
Yeah.
those rapids, or you can pull it off to shore and walk around the rapids. But the water's moving, whether you move or not. And it's what you do with it, maybe you just need to take a little break, or maybe you're not ready for the rapids and you just go down a little bit further. um, but
You know,
it's always
you,
moving.
when you asked about, like, well, why do I do what I do or whatever, like you can ask the river why it flows in a way. Like if
Yeah,
you are being who you are, then it just is what it is. And I
yeah,
think everybody has that, but I think because of trauma and conditioning, we're sort of talked out of just being what we really are. And
oh yeah,
and then we have to think about, well, what we are. But if you're an acorn, you want to become an oak tree. If you're a river, you want to go out to the sea. Like, and
yeah,
I think that's with humans, though, we have choice, and because of trauma, for whatever reason, we lose track of that original nature. Like a
yeah.
river doesn't hold on to the rocks and say, like, oh my God, I'm going to lose control. Yeah.
That's true, it doesn't. And as I know, you talked about something earlier about wanting to be normal. I know that's when I made my mistake, because I wanted to be like everybody else, because I wasn't. I was shy. I looked at life very differently. I was happy. It didn't matter what was going on. Life was to be lived. And yes, there's tragic times, tragic things that happen, but life goes on. And for me to want to give that up, I was so foolish. But you do foolish things when you're young. So yeah, I wanted to be what I considered normal. Now it's like, no, normal is me. I'm normal just like I am. So for you, what was that desire to be so-called normal? What did that mean to you?
Well, I'm not sure when I said that, but I'll say as a child, I don't think I wanted to be normal, but I definitely wanted to be loved and accepted.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
certainly had messages from my parents of what it was they wanted from me that had nothing to do with who I was, so I just didn't understand. But now I think maybe when I said it earlier, I think I was saying I want to be normal now. Like I'm not trying to, like, I have a dog that I got during the pandemic because everybody gets a dog and an air fryer. But no, this dog came to me. So I walk around my neighborhood and I talk to my neighbors and stuff, but I wouldn't don't nobody knows what I do for a living. Like I don't, because that turns the conversation into something else. So part of being normal to me is not being just yeah, just like everybody else. I want that. But in terms of like what I do with my time that is meaningful to me, that's different than say just the mundane things or walking my dog or socializing, uh, they're they're not normal. I mean, I have a creative life, so uh, to me that should be normal. That to me that is normal. Like
yeah.
if I told you what
And
I
I
did
think
today,
it is.
it's creative, all of it.
Um, I
Even
don't,
this
I,
is creative. So
yeah. I'm looking for, here it is, paper I printed out. Um, nope, that is not it. I printed one out that talked about you need to have that creativity. You need to have that intuition going on. You need to have the imagination. Otherwise, we wouldn't be developing new things. Look at all the things that they used as props in Star Trek, and now they're things we actually use today.
yeah.
And that comes from having that creativeness. That comes from thinking out of the box, if you will. But yeah, the imagination and the what ifs. Well, what if this really can happen? What if we really can do this? And so to think that our creative is different, it may be just a little bit different way in that it presents itself to us and other people than what we see in others. But I think all of us are very creative. And some people, you said you felt like it was your gift. It was given to you. This is what you need to do. And for some people, that's keeping the books. That's being an accountant, being a bookkeeper. For others, it's being very well structured. And I think we all need all of us to be in the world we are today, because we need the very structured, we need the very creative, or the ones who are more creative than others. I have a whole wall full of artwork here. I did a live on it today, and that's a creative venue that not everybody has that kind of creativeness. For me, my creative is writing stories for my grandchildren, or now for everyone's children, or adults of all ages. Um, so, whatever our creative is, I think we need to embrace that and realize it's not weird, it's not abnormal, unless we want it to look weird, that's up to us. But I think normal is creative, and I think normal is imagination, and normal is structure. All of those are normal.
Well, a couple things. One, I would say, like the person who's an accountant, that's nobody doing one thing day and night, like, because they might be a parent and a child and a musician and an accountant. And I think that we need structure and we need creativity. And to me, this is masculine and feminine. It's the mind and the heart. It's the yin and the yang. As structure creates stability and security, but it's the limitation. It doesn't change. And creativity, imagine something inside matter, inside the physical world, that imagine something that isn't exist, and then manifests it. So I think we need both. And I think what you're saying is that we are all these things, but the thing that defines our life is what we actually do with it. And I think you have to be incredibly disciplined and courageous in this world to protect and to be able to live a life where you actually get to be creative enough so that it's healthy. Because most people, we get rewarded for doing skills and all that, and get money for that, that's school trains for that. There's all this the whole society is all about sort of the masculine linear part of it. So if you want to be creative, then you're thought of in another way, like you're some kind of like you're a rock star or something like that. And I think being able to hold the two together that's a talent. No, not a talent. That's the wrong word. It takes courage, I think, and hard work.
And we can learn it. That's the great thing, is we can always learn. We can learn to be kind. We can learn to create. It's not the word I want. We can learn to improve on what we've got. And that's why we have piano teachers, to help you learn a little better than what you knew before. And we can learn from each other. I mean, books, goodness, they can learn all kinds of things from books and from YouTube. I mean, you want to know anything, go to YouTube. How do you do this? How do you stall and lie? How do you cook this
meal?
Be
watching this on YouTube.
Yeah, there you go. How do you run a business? So thinking on that thought, you said your 26-year-old self didn't know a whole lot and was doing different things. If you could go back to that, or to talk to anyone who's maybe in their early 20s and they're still trying to find their place in the world, and that's okay. It took me 60 some years to figure out my place in the world. But and then that changes. That changes through each season and each age. But let's go back to the 20-year-old. What would you tell somebody that's starting out like that? What are maybe some real
Well, I have a
guidelines?
21-year-old, and we do have those conversations. And I have a
Oh,
31-year-old
nice.
who I had those conversations with when she was in her 20s. I was with her just yesterday, and I asked her, I said, I was just asking her about, because she lives with her boyfriend, she has a steady job, like, and I just said, so I could just see like she was past the 20s. And I said, so what do you want now? Like, because you're in a different zone. Like she's in this, and all her friends are married and having kids and all this kind of stuff. But um, my son, he's a sweetheart of a human being, and he really reminds me of the part of myself that, I mean, it's kind of weird because I was very strongly directed as a young person, and both of my kids are in their own ways not very ambitious. They're both very wonderful people and very talented people, but uh, not not where I was. But my son reminds me of myself because I feel like a part of my development, it just took me a long time to find, like, the world just seemed like a very weird, mysterious place that I couldn't figure out. And it just took me a while to like find myself truly. And my son's a little like that. And it's easy for me to understand him. I can play the long game with him. I have since high school, because I can see that what I didn't have in my parents is a kind of keep looking, keep exploring. You're doing fine. Like, I trust him. And so with him, it's that. But I've had, when my daughter was in her 20s, it was interesting. It was one year we had a year-long program, and it was all millennials. It was all, at that time, kids in their 20s. And it was interesting being a teacher for them. But what I learned is most of the people who work with me now are older, because I think when you're in your 20s, like, working on yourself is about how you're going to conquer the world in some way, or get the thing that you want out of the
I
world.
that
And 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 the energy and the hormones are there, but the discipline is not. And so what I noticed when I finished that program, and we started with 13 people, I think we ended up with 6. Like, they were just dropping one by one because they kind of couldn't take it. And there's
hmm.
youth really is wasted on the young. So I feel like if a 20
I've heard that
something,
for a long time, that's
yeah,
true.
if a young person asks me stuff, and since my daughter's had her friends like ask, like, would talk to them, or I can read astrology charts and stuff, and I would have conversations, and I'll just be supportive. But it's rare to find a person in their 20s. Well, I wanted spiritual awakening. I wanted healing. I wanted to understand how everything worked, but I was not the norm at
Mhm.
that time. And I don't see too many young people like that.
Instead of just going for stuff, I don't know. Because I think when you're at that age, you've got this whole world ahead of you, and you are looking at things and you want to try this and you want to try that.
Yeah,
But for some of us, it's like, well, we're told, no, we have to do this. You have to go
yeah.
get a job, have to do that. And I
Well,
think
mm.
it's
Well,
different.
one thing I would say is, um, I don't give advice, and I never give advice unless, if I'm solicited, it's going to happen in the sacred space of my work. I don't necessarily mean money. I
Okay.
just mean, like, you're accountable to what I say to you because I'm a professional. I don't know what anybody should do. But if somebody comes to me and they give me the authority to guide, I definitely have opinions. But it's the permission, it's the question that gives permission for that gift to come out. Otherwise, I don't do it. Well, Rumi said, the 2-day journey takes 2,000 years without a guide. Like,
Yes.
if you want to win the high school tennis tournament, like, and you're good with your wicked forehand, great. But if you want to play in Wimbledon, like, you need a teacher. So
Yes.
partly what a therapist or guide or a healer or body work or whatever, they give you feedback about what you can't see about yourself. But I don't think that that's easy. I don't think it's always a healthy thing amongst people that you're in intimate relationships with, family, friends, that sort of thing,
Yeah.
because there's their lens is filtering and they don't know it. Whereas I'm not saying I'm 100% objective, but I know what my role is. My role isn't to be your friend. My role isn't to be your sibling or your mate.
Right.
My role is to see you on the right path, the path, and it's always based on what you tell me. So if you tell me that you want something, I will start there. Like, I'm never going to tell somebody, well, that's stupid. Like, if someone came to me and said, I want to be a ballerina, it's like, people should follow whatever they want.
Go
Yeah.
be a ballerina.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Well, I want to be respectful of your time. I know that you said we have only a certain amount of time. Thank you for being here. I really
Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
having fun to talk to you.
Yeah, I've enjoyed this. So how can people get a hold of you?
My website is Effigy Breath, EFFIJI breath.com, and everything's there. And I have a partner. We've been a business partner of 12 years. And so if you want to contact me because of some reason, just click the link and it will get to me eventually. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
Really
Thank you.
appreciate your time.
Yeah. That's fun.
All
Thanks.
right. Thank you, our audience, for being here. Hope you enjoyed this and gained value from it. And we'll see you next time on Wisdom on the Front Porch.
Thank you, my Front Porch friends and neighbors, for pulling up a chair with me and my guest today on Wisdom on the Front Porch. Now, if you've got value from this conversation, would you do me a favor? Leave a quick review, then share it with someone you know who could use some inspiration. It helps more friends find their seat on the porch. And hey, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss what's next. Until then, keep the porch light on for new wisdom every time you show up. Your seat's always here for you on the porch.